We spot them. We destroy them. Ukraine fights for Kostiantynivka as Russia closes in on three sides. Russia's three-pronged attack on the key city has been boosted by its best drone unit, and Ukrainian brigades have had to adapt quickly to stay in the fight. Over spring and summer, Kostiantynivka turned into a city of shadows, with military cars speeding down the central streets on their way to positions, while the remaining civilians who have refused to evacuate shuffle between apartments and basements, scavenging for essentials. Driving through Kostiantynivka with Ukrainian soldiers, burnt-out vehicles, both military and civilian, are visible on the roadside, while anti-drone net tunnels have been hastily erected on scattered sections of the roads in and out. With its streets emptied of almost all life, the battle for Kostiantynivka has begun in earnest. Together with nearby Pokrovsk, the city is a major roadblock for Moscow's ambitions to take all of Donetsk Oblast. August 2025, Russian forces have come within around 6 kilometers of the city's outskirts, according to open-source mapping project Deep State. Though the saturation of the sky with strike drones on both sides has been a feature of the battlefield in Ukraine for over a year, this spring brought a new seismic shift to this part of the front line. The arrival of the elite Russian drone unit Rubicon, while also operating standard radio first-person view (FPV) drones. Rubicon specializes in the use of long-range fiber-optic FPVs, designed to reach and consistently strike Ukrainian targets deeper in the rear than was understood to be possible. For Ukrainian brigades fighting in the area, the arrival of the Rubicon drone teams has been a challenge like no other, forcing a complete rethink of their frontline logistic chains. Some have managed better than others. Meanwhile, Ukraine's own top drone units have done the same, targeting every part of the Russian logistics chain and making vehicle-based attacks and logistics next to impossible. The prelude to the battle raging now for the city began over 2 years ago, in spring 2023, after one of the most brutal battles in modern history. Russian forces, led by the Wagner mercenary group, finally took the last streets of nearby Bakhmut, 20 kilometers to the east. At first, Kostiantynivka seemed to be Russian forces' next target, but Ukrainian counterattacks in the area, part of the 2023 summer counteroffensive, pushed them back over the Seversky Donetsk-Donbass Canal, running perpendicular between the city and Bakhmut. Over 2024, Russia moved on Kostiantynivka with new momentum, targeting two key cities that stood in its way: Chasiv Yar in the northeast and Turetsk in the southeast. In both cities, the attacking Russian forces ended up bogged down in heavy urban fighting that came with high casualties, but nonetheless slowly marched forward after destroying almost every building. Meanwhile, as part of last year's summer offensive on Pokrovsk to the southwest, Russian forces approached the TO-504 highway connecting the city to Kostiantynivka and severing Ukrainian logistics between the two. Taking refuge from the midday sun in a shady tree-lined position south of Kostiantynivka, an FPV drone team from the Liubart Brigade makes flight after flight on the 7th day of their shift. This way of waging war one of propellers, goggles, screens, and 3D printed bombs was unimaginable just 5 years ago. Now it is routine, one after another. The quadcopters armed and brought out to their launch pads by 22-year-old sapper Oleksiy Syry-Wizov on their way to Russian forces. But unlike in the dramatic videos of drone hits that have come to define how the war is fought, this team's targets are not Russian tanks, cars, or even soldiers, but greenery, designated spots on tree lines where enemy movement has been spotted. Russian attacks here most often follow the tree lines dividing up the vast fields of the Ukrainian steppe, and with Ukraine now relying more on drones to stop them, the concealment offered by the thick summer vegetation makes the job a lot harder. As a result, Russian assault groups seeping through gaps in the porous Ukrainian lines are more and more common. We spot them, we destroy them. But with the wide sector that we have had to defend, they can often get through, and suddenly you realize that the enemy has made it behind your lines. This practice has also been turned on its head by the arrival of Rubicon. Russian drone teams have refined the art of spotting the heavy bombers, thermal signature in flight, and knocking them out of the sky with regular FPVs. As a result, Ukrainian bats and vampires now choose to fly by day. More drones are lost, but as a sign scrawled in the Liubart dugout reminds its occupants, drones are expendable material, worth nothing compared to the life of a soldier.